We've accomplished an economic turnaround of historic proportions. You know, and under the Obama plan, you could separate children. They never did anything about that. Nobody talks about that. But under President Obama, they separated children from the parents. How long has this witch hunt gone on? It's gone on for what? I think we've wasted enough time on this witch hunt.
What you just heard there were some of the greatest hits, just some of the times President Trump misled the American public in 2018. And as this year comes to a close, NBC News is looking at the 10 biggest falsehoods we heard from the president by fact-checking his claims on everything from tariffs and tax reform to the border and job creation. I'm joined now by NBC News political reporter Timm. She has been working on this story throughout the course of the year. We just heard there in that Fox News interview the president referring to the investigation again as a witch hunt, as one of his favorite lines. We should note again for our viewers and listeners that this is the same witch hunt that so far has resulted in some 33 people being charged with crimes, seen 3 senior Trump associates convicted. Where do you rank this particular falsehood and why?
You know, we put this one at number 3. It's really a big falsehood. It is a falsehood you can't get away from if you are awake in 2018. We heard it sort of nearly every other day, but it's also not affecting our voters in a daily basis. So, and it also hasn't played out. So we don't know the full extent of the Mueller investigation because we haven't seen all of the charges. We haven't seen everything that is out there. There are court filings that indicate there's a lot going on behind the scenes, and I think it could rise up the list next year.
Not to get into too much of the methodology here, but how did we go about determining which ones were the biggest? Is it a lie that the president told most often? Is it a lie that perhaps could be most impactful in terms of the perception that voters might have?
So I fact check every day, listening to what the president says, reading the facts, trying to understand everything, and bring context to those conversations. And the falsehoods that we heard constantly, and the ones that were really big and influential and affected how the country works, and how Americans perceive the Justice Department, and how they look at who is in charge of the justice system in America. And that's how this one got so high up on the list.
Here's another one that's perhaps the most timely and notable. The president said on Fox News in October of 2018, "We are building the wall as we speak." He tweeted Monday night, "We're already building and renovating many miles of wall, some complete." Here's the NBC fact check that you provide. Government currently repairing and replacing old sections of border fencing, but construction on a new section of border barrier has not yet begun and won't this year. Where did you rank this falsehood?
This was number 1 for me. This is the falsehood that has defined our entire year, because we've seen this promise defined his campaign, and it's now defining his presidency. He had 2 years of unified government with Republicans controlling all 3 branches of government, couldn't get this done, trying to sneak it in under the wire. And at the end of the day, I have gone through every single part of the border construction projects that we have, that they're fences. They're not the big cement border wall or the big concrete border wall that we were promised. Mexico hasn't paid for it. And for Trump, this falsehood really goes with everything for him. He sees it as trade. He sees it as ties to security. He sees it as ties to how other countries look at him as a leader. He really, really wants this win. His voters want this win, so much so that you see a GoFundMe with people giving money to build this border wall.
Which is ironic because, again, as you point out, Mexico was supposed to pay for it. I want to play something the president said back in September at the United Nations.
In less than 2 years, my administration has accomplished more than almost any administration in the history of our country. America's so true. Didn't expect that reaction, but that's okay.
You rarely see the president laugh at himself, but that was one of those instances where it seemed to even be hard for him to believe what he just said. What's the reality check on that?
You know, the reality check is that the president said he meant that to be a laugh line, but he keeps making that claim. He says that all the time. He tweets this. He's made this claim all through his entire 2 years in office. And at the end of the day, he made a lot of big promises, and the reality has fallen short of that. You know, his biggest legislative achievement is this tax reform cut, and he keeps saying, you know, we might do more for that because we need to do more on that. So he says we need more based on his biggest achievements. One of his biggest promises, of course, was repealing and replacing the Affordable Care Act. He has tried time and time again, still keeps missing the mark on that one.
Timm, 10 biggest falsehoods. It's worth the read. Jane, thank you. Happy New Year to you as well.